This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Sean Preston.
Welcome, everybody, to today's episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today, we have a good neighbor on with us. His name is Rick Harris from Work Boot Consulting. What's going on, man?
Not much, Sean. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good, recovering from the weekend. It's a fresh Monday. I'm still one coffee in only. So this is where I get to ask questions. You get to do the majority of the talking, so I get to finish my coffee.
Nice. Thanks. Looking forward to it.
So some of the listeners don't know. I already know you. Known you for a little while now, almost over a year. Yeah. I think you have a phenomenal business, and I'm sure the listeners are chomping at the bit. So why don't we dive right into it? Why don't you tell us a little bit more about your business?
Yeah, thanks, John. And I always say the most impactful people in your life, you really don't know how you met, what is the genesis of the relationship, but you were at a networking meeting and you happened to speak, and I immediately connected with you. It's like, okay, you're somebody that I need to have a conversation with. So I hunted you down and spent some time with you. And I love your mindset. I love your attitude, and I love the direction that you're going. And what I do is, so I'm a former general contractor, plumbing business owner. We'll get to that in a little bit. But what I do is I help contractors, specifically contractors, go from what I call craziness to control. So what does that look like? Well, it comes in a couple different ways. Most contractors are really just trying to sort things out. They're like me, they're either plumber, start a plumbing business, electrician, start an electrical business. And that's what I do is I come in, I call myself basically your virtual general manager, like fractional. I'll come in and say, what's going on with your business? We look at what's going on and we fix it. So it could be profit, it could be hiring, it could be clients, it could be your processes, whatever it is. So that's what we do is we make you a profitable, viable business that has a repeatable process.
That's phenomenal, especially in that, that industry. They could use a lot of help with that. A lot of the guys that are really good at it might lack some of those other skills. So nice to have somebody who comes in who actually knows what they're talking about because they have experience in doing the job themselves first to be able to help them with whatever they need, whatever their goals are. How long have you been doing that for?
Unofficially 10 years, officially 6. So when I say unofficially 10 years, I had a coach, my first real coach, 10 years ago, sat me down and said, you're a teacher. You're a natural born teacher. Go teach. And I said, how do I do that? She said, that's up to you to figure out. So I created a company. I was a GC at the time, focusing on interior renovations. So I went out and I started to meet other guys who ran contracting businesses. And some of them were just getting started. Some of them were started. And they said, how do you do it? So I sat down and I was doing it for free with no expectation of return, just figuring it all out. And eventually I got on board with a virtual company. They exist, but everything's done virtually. And I became head of coaching and started running the coaching division of this company. And it was focused strictly on contractors North America wide. We had one client in Australia, one in England, and they were always a challenge to get scheduled in. But officially 6 years.
Pretty big time difference between those two areas to hear, eh?
Huge, yeah. So to meet with him on a Monday, I had to meet with him on a Sunday. So they're always a day ahead.
Yeah. So you kind of briefly touched on it a little bit, but we always like to know how you ended up kind of getting to where you are today and what that journey looks like. And you've had that experience. So you were in the biz before you became a coach.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a licensed 306A for anybody who knows what that is. It's a JP plumber, so journey person plumber. I was also a licensed gas fitter. I took some design courses, so I focused on plumbing and renovation. So way back when I was young and skinny, I started working with my father. He had a very small plumbing business, and he started into his business the same way everybody else does. He was working for a very large mechanical contractor way back in the 70s. And the recession came along, so they downsized and eliminated his entire division. So he was running that entire division. So he's like, what do I do now? So mom, like most businesses, the genesis of them is the driving force is usually your partner. So my mom, who was the driving force behind Harris Plumbing, said, go do plumbing. So off he went. And eventually, I have 3 brothers. We all came to work with him. And we were doing plumbing back then, which would have been, there was 3 of us on the road. My dad was on the road half time. So back in the late 80s, early 90s, we were doing $1 million a year in revenue.
Cool.
That's a lot of money. So we worked away at it, and then we fell into renovations. And it was actually my older brother who said, we're breaking holes in walls. Why don't we try and fix those holes? So we started to take a run at it. And eventually we got a good renovation division going. So we had 2 businesses inside of one. And then one day my older brother came to my dad and said, what are we going to do with their business? And he's like, I don't know. So he couldn't figure it out. So my older brother quit and started his business. 3 years later, guess who asked the same questions? I asked the same questions. Where are we going to go from here? What's going to happen? Where are we going? Where are we going to go? At that time, we had a good small business. I would say we're about 10, 15 employees. Yeah. He couldn't figure it out. So I quit and started my own business and went into business right against head-to-head with my father. And eventually, my father decided he didn't want to be part of the business anymore. I wanted to sell it. So my older brother and I came back and we bought his business from him. And then we took 3 small businesses and pushed them into one slightly larger mess. So my brother had coaches helping him. And back then there was, I don't know if any contractors would know them, Success Group International and companies like that. They helped us with our business. And I thought it was amazing. It's like, I want to do that. So eventually, my brother and I became business partners without the usual things that you're supposed to need, like a partnership agreement, a buy-sell agreement, a shotgun clause, all that other stuff. We didn't have any of that. Right. Really, really silly thing to do. So I left and went back out on my own. And then eventually I came back and worked at the family business. And in that time, I wanted to be more and more of a coach. And so I worked towards that. And I got a part-time job with a company, being one of the part-time coaches. And I soon realized that as well-intentioned as I was to help people, because that was my passion, is to help other contractors like myself, I wasn't really qualified to speak to them. So I went out and got my certification as a coach, a consultant. I'm certified in DISC, Lean Six Sigma, systems, processes, leadership. So I got all those certifications, became head of coaching at that company. And then one day I looked around and I saw an opportunity. And it's not that I didn't think that company was a good company. I thought it was a great company. I really did. But they were not focused on who I wanted to really help. Their process was different than what I wanted to use. So I quit. So, which kind of sounds really silly. You're head of coaching, you got a good gig, you're making decent money, it's secure, you don't have to find clients. So again, I jumped out into doing it on my own. And that's when I started this new venture about 2.5 years ago. It's officially On My Own Work Boot Consulting.
Very nice. I love that story. It's a really nice story. I find it so fascinating that I get asked the same questions, right? Generally speaking on the show. And so it's nice to hear, different people always have a different journey. Never anybody has this kind of straight, narrow path. It's always this way, right? But very rare. I think I've only ever had one person on the show. They're like, no, I was born to do this,
Yeah, those are the rare ones. Absolutely. And in between, there's all these little sidetracks that you take. I mean, I took a sidetrack of getting into the insurance business. So I was working full-time as a plumber and selling life insurance and mutual funds. And
get out of here.
Yeah, everybody knows what company that is. Yeah, so I was licensed I had my LLQP way back when. So I was licensed to do that. And then I really wasn't focused. And then I wanted to take on another part-time job. And I remember the guy that ran the company said, you've got a really good thing going here. Why don't you just go focus on that? So I don't even remember the guy, but he's the one that pushed me to follow what I really should have been following.
What are guys typically come to you with when it comes to maybe misunderstanding or misconceptions, maybe some myths in your line of work?
About what I do? Yeah. Coach. Everybody calls themselves a coach nowadays. And I wanted, as much as I love coaches, if you look at the true definition of what a coach is, what a lot of people are doing, they're coaching and telling you that, they're asking probing questions, getting you to think. What I do is a little bit of that, but it's consulting. So you come to me and you tell me what's wrong, and then I'll come back to you with a prescription that this is what we need to do. I will coach you to make sure that you're doing those things. So it's a little bit different. So I always talk about, people hear coach and they kind of cringe because everybody calls themselves a coach nowadays. You and I were talking about it before, that coaches nowadays are like the home inspectors were, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Anybody who wanted to call themselves a home inspector I am a coach as part of what I do, but it's more consulting.
Is there like a common, like what's popular might not be the right word, but when you're working with contractors, is there like an underlying theme with these guys, or is it pretty crazy across the board in terms of what kind of issues they have that you're there to kind of help them work through those things?
Well, there's a short list of common symptoms of a business that's in trouble. Everybody talks about not being able to find people to work for them or with them. And that there's a deeper issue there, lack of profit. Most contractors will tell you, when I ask them their financials, they say, what did you net last year? Not your gross, but what does it say on your books that you made?
Right.
And they'll tell me, $150,000, $200,000, $300,000. I said, okay, where is that money? And it's like, I don't know. It's gone. I don't know where it is. The other issue that they have is time. And because contractors have this mindset, and this is really weird for people who don't understand how contractors think. If they don't have a nail gun in their hand, a hammer in their hand, a pair of pliers in their back pocket, or a tape measure on their belt, they don't think they're working. But a contractor will happily go home from 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night, work on their laptop or their computer, punching out quotes or sending out estimates or sending out invoices or scheduling the next day.
Right.
So their time is a very common issue. And that all ties into spending time with your family, spending time with your friends, spending time with yourself, doing whatever it is you want. So it's usually time, their employees, bad clients, money. Those are really the four.
I feel like whether it's a pride thing maybe, or just afraid to ask the right questions. And so I wanted to ask this question. Like, it seems to me, from what I see from afar, that there is a type of a barrier to entry for these guys to get the help that they need to solve those issues and help them grow their business. What would you say to a contractor that maybe was never thinking about it, but now all of a sudden, maybe they watch this podcast, maybe they realize, oh yeah, maybe I should ask some questions. Maybe I should reach out.
Well, it's not that it's not, when we say pride, when we say ego, you think of that as a bad thing. Pride is pride against saying, hey, I got a problem, or pride or ego is saying that there's something wrong. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, totally.
Something's not right. And, I remember coming home after my brother and I had partnered up. And at that time, my brother was farther along in his journey than I was. And we're sitting around a large boardroom table, and somebody mentioned best practices. At that time, I had no idea what best practices meant. And I felt like the stupidest guy in the room, to the point where I actually took my phone out and looked up underneath the table what a best practice meant. And I remember going home and literally being in tears, being overwhelmed at how much was coming at me, not knowing how to solve it. And I guess that's what it is for most contractors, is they are so overwhelmed, they just don't know where to start. They can go out and they can fix anything. Client calls in, hey, I got a broken this. All right, on my way. I know what to do. Or they call in and say, hey, I want to turn this room into a media room. Yeah, no problem. We can do this, Brazilian channel, soundproofing, the whole thing. You know exactly what we're going to do. But when it comes to fixing their business and doing it properly and making sure that they're getting the right client, making sure that milestones are being met, making sure the change orders are being taken care of, they just don't know. And I always tell the story about the $100 cup of coffee. And everybody says, what do you mean $100 cup of coffee? So years ago, we were working on this basement for a client. And that's when I learned we were trying to drywall, it was a separate story. We're trying to drywall a curved wall. And I don't understand the math of it at all, but I just know that when you measure something flat and then when you try and bend it, the dimensions completely change. But anyhow, a client every morning, this client would come down, lovely lady. She would come down and bring us coffee and snacks for us and the team. And she would talk about the things that she wanted done, the things over and above the scope of work. And we said, yeah, sure, no problem. Yep, we can do that. And we wrote it down and we documented it and we saved it for the end to give her her bill of extras. And when we got to the end, she's like, well, what's this? I said, well, those are the extra things that you asked us to do. She says, well, yeah, I thought that was just, you're doing me a favor. I said, well, no. She said, well, when I came down and brought you that cup of coffee, we talked about it. So we totaled up all the cups of coffee that she brought us, and we figured each one was worth $100 because that's how many extra things that she wanted.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. So that's what can happen. Change orders are really where, and this is the thing too about contractors. You know what to do, you know how to price it, you know how long it's going to take, and then you take that estimate and you fold it up into something that looks like a paper airplane, and then off it goes. And it can end up anywhere. So you don't have that job laid out properly. You're not following along. You don't slow it down. You're moving too quickly. And so this is the thing too, because I was a GC and a service company, I understand that as a service company, you just want to get in there and fix it, get out, get in there, fix it, get out, get in there, fix it, get out. And when you're the business owner, and if it's just you, that's perfectly fine. But when you're too busy being the technician, the plumber, the electrician, whatever it is, you can't think about the business. You're just putting out fires all day long. And at the end of the day, you're completely exhausted. And the last thing you want is your phone to ring.
Yeah, there's a portion that every business owner needs to take to work on it and in it. And then for those who eventually want to grow, and they want to grow in the right way, you have to start working more on the business and less in the business. But streamlining the business is a very large component to that. And it's one of the main reasons why businesses fail. They're all really good at what they do because, that's why they came into business in the first place. But failing to scale your business is why 90% of businesses go out within the first 10 years.
100%. And it's interesting. You said a couple of things there that kind of stuck out. Scale your business and work on your business and not in your business. And everybody's heard of that before. And I always look back to one of my favorite books, which is it's a little bit dated now, but the principles behind it are solid, and it's Think and Grow Rich. So there's a line in there that says, everybody always tells you how to have faith, but they never teach you how to have faith. So when it comes to working on your business instead of in it, I give you percentages. So if you're that plumber or electrician or contractor physically doing the work, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly fine. There should be a percentage where you're in the field. So, and this could be days, it could be hours. So I don't know, 50 to 80% of the day you can be in the field. 10% of the day you're working on the business. 10% of the time you're working working on the management of the business. Excuse me. The other percentage of the time you were doing strategic stuff, which is networking, planning what's next, how to improve the business, how to improve your processes, those types of things. So that's how to work on your business rather than in it. And when you talk about scaling, there's a saying that goes, everyone knows that if you're not growing, you're dying. And I love Grant Cardone. I think that guy is amazing. And I really admire the things that he's accomplished. But I remember seeing him in one of his ads, and he's walking to his private jet from his Bentley. And in the background is his helicopter. And that's success for him. And I love that. And there are some people out there who want that success. But a lot of times success is just being able to take Friday off, or taking your kids to Disney World, or taking kids wherever. That's success. So what does success look like to you? So that's one of the first things that we talk about. So when you say scaling, it may not be scaling in size. It may be scaling in efficiency. Let's get this thing working like a good machine, and then we can start to grow strategically. And very controlled growth is far better than just hiring another team or a bunch of subcontractors to come in, because a lot of times the bigger the business, the bigger the mess.
Yeah, I want to touch on what I said earlier. I mean, I think some people fail, or they not fail, but it's that scaling of the business, or not wanting to let go because it's their baby. And so they're at that first stage of growth where it's like, okay, I gotta now hand over responsibility, but there's this thing in the back of your mind, like they can't do it as good as I can.
No.
And so then inaction happens after that. And then things get unattended. And then then other problems start snowballing from there.
Absolutely. That you see that happen all the time. Get out of my way. It's easier for me to do it myself. Those types of things. And so it's almost like you're standing there holding, a horse, a team of horses with the left hand and the right hand. And you can't let go of either one. Well, one's going to win. One's going to pull you apart. And you have to, like you said, let go of both. Make sure that both teams know where they're headed. And that comes from, documenting your processes. So a lot of the times, you hear SOPs, which are an acronym for standard operating procedures. And don't worry, the first time I heard an SOP, I had no idea what it stood for either. And so it's just about, how do you do things? How do we do things here? And if you have a system for, just setting up and keeping the trailer clean, write it down. This is how you do it. Create a little video if you want. You can create your own YouTube channel with your own training videos in there. It doesn't cost you anything. So that's where it comes from. It's easier. And and this is the thing too. I know you've heard it before. I used to have a group of guys working for me, but I fired them all because I found it was easier to do it myself. Well, that's fine, but that's a you problem. It's not a them problem. And it's not that you're not good at, doing the work and running a business, but you're not good at managing the business. And you need some help learning how to manage the business, managing people. I think it came from Stephen Covey. He said, you can't manage people. You can't manage anybody, but you can certainly manage a process. So you put your people inside of a process and say, this is how we do things. That's why at McDonald's, you can have somebody who can't even make their own bed cooking your dinner, because they have a process.
Yeah. It's a great way to put it. When guys can absorb that, they could look at that and say, well, I can't manage people because I can't control people, but you can manage a process.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So when you're not working on or in your business.
That's right. That's right. And I get sucked into it too. I really do. You laugh about it, but I mean, business owner is a business owner. You're like, okay, I'm going to do this, and I just read this really good book. I'm going to put this in place. Yeah, I know, I get it. I totally understand. So you have to be. That's another topic. But I get.
We were talking about work-life balance and that type of thing. Working and going out to work, especially when you're a business owner. We can definitely chew up the hours with that when we're passionate, because it doesn't feel like work. But when you're not working, what do you like to do for fun in your personal life?
My personal life? Well, I'm an older guy now, so I have 3 granddaughters, and those 3 granddaughters are my chance at redemption. So when I was a young father, and if this is going to hit home with a lot of people. So when you're a young father, you're just trying to get through it. You really are. That's why you have kids when you're young, because you're young and oblivious, and you're just trying to get through it. As a business owner, no matter what type of business it is that you have, the first thing that a lot of us sacrifice are our family. Put your business before your family. So I always remember the last day I picked up my daughter, the last time that my daughter slept on top of me. But a lot of times things I don't remember, because I was just too busy trying to do this or that and everything else. And there were times when I wasn't the business owner, but because my name was on the back of the truck, I felt an obligation. So I was like an owner. And now that I'm older, those little arms that wrap around my neck are those of my granddaughters. So one of the first things I tried to accomplish was we talked about this earlier, that Fridays are a free day for me. So every other Friday I spend the day with my granddaughter.
Nice.
And it's not an easy day, I'll tell you. Like hanging around with like somebody who is literally small enough you can pick up and put wherever you want can be a bit of a challenge. They challenge your negotiation skills, they challenge everything, but the reward at the end of the day is phenomenal. And I have a journal for all three of them.
Okay.
That I write to them about my experiences. I write about what happened, what we've done. I give them advice based on what happened during the course of the day. So that's one of the things that I do. I love hanging out with the lady who puts up with me. She is phenomenal. Without her, I wouldn't be where I am. She supported me throughout this entire journey, even when she looked at me and thought I was completely insane. I love hanging out with her. Love going up. I'm lucky enough that she has a cottage up north, so we go up to that.
Nice.
We have snowmobiles. I wear all black, so I look like a chubby Black Panther on my snowmobile. Black helmet, black visor, the whole thing.
Yeah.
I love doing that. Love golfing in the summer. I'm horrible. I bought a set of golf balls. I don't know if you've ever seen them. They're the true straight golf balls, so you're supposed to line them up with an arrow, and they'll go exactly where the arrow goes. So my cousin asked me, where are they? I said, I don't know. I lost them all. They're all in the house somewhere. So I do that. Hockey, love hanging out, going down to a Leaf game. I love the Jays. I love the Leafs, and hanging out with my family. So it's family, and then it's what I want to do that keeps me happy. Saying yes to the things that I want to do, and saying no to things that I don't want to do.
Yeah, I definitely sacrificed a bit of that family side of it with my immediate family, parents and sisters, building up my business, and then finally getting the opportunity to start streamlining properly, to take some time off our hands. And like you said, we're trying to as well do the kind of something similar, getting those half-day Fridays. Once everything's set, it's just work that needs to be done, but it only needs to be done once. Once it's done once, then it's all set up. And then I can take guys like you and some of our other clients and take them out for golfing on a Friday afternoon and stuff like that. We sold our snowmobiles this year because we haven't snowmobiled in like over 3 years. Yeah. And so if you're an avid snowmobiler, I feel your pain.
Yep.
So that sucks for that, but you know what, we'll dump our time into other things. I have a lot of similarities to you as well too, being a sucker for punishment and being a Leaf fan. I see we're both kind of rocking the colors to a degree.
The Maple Leaf blue, which is just the tears. Like, what was somebody talking about the other day, that the Leaf fans are traumatized. The team could be up 5-0 and somebody scores a goal. They go, well, that's it. We're going to lose. We're out. We're going to lose this in overtime. I know we are. So, but that's what happens over the years. And, taking the Friday off, I call it a free day Friday. So I can do whatever I want on Friday. I choose to spend every other Friday with the granddaughter, but the days that I don't, I can do whatever I want. If I choose to work, I'm going to work. If I have a client that is in real crisis, I will spend time with them. So those Fridays I can control whatever happens on that day. And I look back to when I was a contractor and how many times I got asked to go play golf on Friday afternoon or just go hang out, and I would say no. And I'd end up working till 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, and then Saturday and Sunday. So having that control back is hugely important.
Can you describe a life challenge or a hardship that you went for or that you had in your life and you kind of overcame that and maybe it made you better, made you stronger for it?
Yeah, quitting on my father. The day I walked in there was not a day that I wanted to walk in there. It was not, the words I said to him were not the words I wanted to say to him. And the words were, I love you, but I can't work for you anymore. And it was really difficult to get those words out to say to him, because I don't know if you had that. Like you and I were raised in different eras, but I had a fear of my father. I feared my father.
Right.
And where that fear came from, I don't really know. It's not physically feared him. It was, I guess, fear of disappointing him. Fear of not being open and honest, not being able to be open and honest with him. I could be open and honest with him when I was angry, if that makes sense. But when it was really a soft, emotionally intelligent conversation I need to have with him. We never had those. We couldn't have those conversations. So quitting on him and walking out the door into an abyss. And at the time, I had a little SUV, and off I was doing washroom renovations in an SUV. Not a big one, not like a Suburban or anything like that. It was a small one. And looking back on that challenge and trying to figure it all out is really what made me step back and realize this is really difficult. It's not as easy as I thought it would be. It was easy to get the work. It was easy to get the clients. It was easy to get paid. Man, I could do work renovations as good as anybody else out there. And looking back on that challenge of quitting on my dad and stepping out into the unknown, and then thinking, man, I wish I had done it differently. Not quitting, but stepped out into it with a little better armed. You know, that's what I would think of. That was my challenge. Quitting on my dad.
Right. And you look back on it. You look back on it now, but like you said, it gave you that opportunity to step back, and that helped you propel forward to having what you have now. Yeah.
I mean, without the scars, you know, physical and emotional. I mean, you talk about this. It's like, well, were you really a contractor? It's like, yeah, I can show you the scars on my hand where I've driven hole saws into the palm of my hand and stuff like that. But the emotional scars of going through that journey, of knowing what's happened, of getting that phone call from your accountant saying you owe, you know, $30,000 for this and $15,000 for that. By the way, due at the end of the week, you know, that kind of thing. The battle scars of not, you know, getting that bad client, of using, you know, change orders at the end of the job as bargaining chips because the job's gone over and you got a client pissed off. Of guys quitting on you, of clients quitting on you, of your accountant not giving you the information that you need. Yeah, I mean, it all of that entire journey got me to where I am now, and it's very rewarding to sit and talk to other contractors and give them not solutions but options of what I think you should do. And you know, and I made the mistake too when I became a consultant and coach and whatever you want to call me, of taking over somebody's business, of stepping in and overstepping is what I did. And it was a contractor who was in trouble, and I knew he was in trouble, and I could see it happening, and panicking, thinking, this is going to hurt my business. This is going to hurt. His business is going to die. This is going to be bad for my brand, and stepping in and overstepping. And I took the control away from him. And I will never do that with a client. I will strongly advise you that this is a bad idea, but at the end of the day, it is your company. I guess it's like going to the doctor and the doctor saying, you know, look, you need to stop doing this, this, and this. If you want to continue on the path you want to go on, go ahead. It's your life.
Right.
It's the same with the contractor, is that I can't be more passionate about your business than you are. I want to be. But at the end of the day, you are the boss. I work for you. If that's not the road you want to go down, we won't go there. I had a lawyer say that to me one time. He said, lawyers are like cab drivers. We will take you wherever you want to go. We may say that's not the best road to take, but if that's the road you want to take, that's the road we're going to go. I'm sort of that way in that, yeah, there are certain things that you want to do and certain directions that you want to go, and I will strongly advise you not to go down that road. And I will not help you get down that road. I will say, this is the road we want to go. But if you're bound and determined to go do that, go do it.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I think that gives people a little bit more of a deeper insight into who you are as a person and how you run your business, your consulting business, which is nice. So I'm happy you shared that with us. What's one thing that you wish people knew about your business? If you had
how much I care. I really care. You know, to the point where I had one guy reach out to me, and we hopped on a call, and he said, and I still do this. So I still do, what's the Latin term for pro bono?
Yeah.
I still do pro bono. I don't advertise it because it's a really bad business model. But I had a client reach out to me, and I've had a couple, and he was on the call, and I said, here's what I'm going to do. I said, I want to work with you for the next 90 days, and I won't charge you. He said, what? I said, I'll do this for free. And he started to cry. Like, he literally burst into tears to the point where he couldn't talk. And then when he stopped, he said, this is what I wanted. I didn't want to be sold another program. I just wanted help. Nice. So that's what it is I'm here to serve. I'm not here to sell. I'm a messenger, and if I have to lean down to help you, I will. As John, I'm a member of the John Maxwell team. And John Maxwell always says, your mission every day is to help somebody do something for themselves, help somebody do something that they can never do for themselves.
Well said. I try to do that on the networking side of things. Not a lot of people I come across do that, and the benefits are absolutely massive for coming out and meeting other people, especially in certain industries. We just never see them out there.
Right.
And I'll tell it to people. I say, like, there's not, your type of business. Like, I don't come across that in all of the networking that we do. I don't, and there's a real thing called, like, I call it first to market type of thing, where, if you're the first guy or girl in there, and you're there for, could even be as little as 2 months, but being there consistently, and then another, a competitor of yours, let's say, comes in, people know you and have known you longer for it from that perspective. But very nice. Okay, so if I'm a contractor, if I was thinking about it, if I'm interested, I loved what I heard on the podcast, how would people get a hold of you, Rick?
Well, my personal cell number is 416-823-7346. You can text to that number at any time. You can also go to the website, old enough to remember when you had to do the HTTP, but it's just workbootconsulting.com. We'll get you there. Or you could email me, rick@workbootconsulting.com. Or you can see me at any networking event in around the Simcoe area. I'm always at your events. Go to the Odd Chamber event. I do have a live event coming up that we can talk about at another time. But send me a message. And this is the thing too, is I'm not here to sell you anything. Let's hop on a call, see what's going on, see if I can help you, because there are times when I can't help you. But definitely reach out to me, and I can help 99.9% of the clients out there. Any issue that you got is not a new issue. It's something that I've seen before. It's just whether or not you're willing to, implement the changes that you want to make. So
beautiful stuff. Well said. Great guy, great business. I can definitely bet you on that side of it. Spent a lot of time with you. We've had some pretty high level intellectual conversations. So thanks a lot for coming on the show. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, right back at you, Sean. Appreciate it.
No worries.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Midhurst. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpmidhurst.com. That's gnpmidhurst.com, or call 705-413-3775.